Well, we are here and we are live in the studio now. We've got Jake Berry with us. Good morning, Jake.
Good afternoon, even.
Oh, sorry, afternoon.
Come on, let's get with the programme.
Near enough. I started in the morning. I forget when lunchtime happens. How are we today?
I'm really well.
Wonderful. Well, we've got one of our listeners on the line. We're going to go straight at it with a question from one of our listeners. So we've got Tim on the line. Can you hear us, Tim?
Yes, hello.
Wonderful. Can you hear Tim all right there, Jake?
Yeah, good afternoon, Tim.
Hi, Jake.
So, Tim, what question have you got for Jake this morning?
Basically, straight to the point. My way is now backing Mr. Johnson as a Prime Minister. I'm just wondering why, how he can support a man with, his character, his comments about Muslim women looking like letterboxes and all these historic things about African people, all these different things just make him seem like not a very pleasant man. But I'm wondering what Jake can say about that.
Well, thanks for your question, Tim. I mean, the reason I'm supporting Boris as Prime Minister is because I think he is a man with a plan who can make sure Britain leaves the European Union by the 31st of October and actually will have a vision for our country. But I know that's not the sort of the whole part of your question. He's had 30 years as a journalist. I know that people have been sort of raking through every utterance or every scribble he has ever made, and he's been clear that where he's caused offence, he is sorry for the offence that people have caused.
He's not apologised for the letterbox comment, no?
Well, in fact, I was there when he apologised for causing offence, so I heard him do it. I think it was on television, but I was there. But if you look at that article specifically, it's a great one to pick up on, and I think it does, to some extent, speak about his vision. That article was solely written saying that Britain, as an open and tolerant society, should never even think about banning people who want to wear religious clothing. And I do think the point he was making, or he made when he said he was sorry for the offence people have caused, is I think the British public are fed up with what politicians say, what these people say in Westminster, being sort of wrapped up and bundled up with sort of political legalese and managerial speak, and they want someone to be the next Prime Minister who can just communicate in a way that the man on the street can understand.
Yeah, there was a rise in hate crime after he said those things, though, wasn't there? That's my biggest concern with it. Muslim women just on the street, Rossendale and all the rest of it, they're going to have more sort of abuse hurled their way because of the likes of Boris Johnson and things he says. So there is some, I think he has to take a bit more responsibility there.
Well, I think what I'd say is, I think the reason for rises in hate crime, people say the Brexit vote caused a rise in hate crime. I think they're always very complicated. What I would say is, rather than just believe, and I'm not saying you do, but rather than people just believing what was reported to be meant by that article, I would suggest that people read it. Unfortunately, it's behind a paywall, but I'm sure people can get it in the Telegraph. I'm sure they can get it in some way. Read what he said, and his entire time as mayor was about tolerance, was about openness. He was the first Conservative leading politician to speak in favour of same-sex marriage. As Mayor of London, he was in favour of positive immigration to Britain. And, none of that has changed. And that's one of the reasons I back him, because I think he will, as a Prime Minister, govern from the centre. I think he will, be part of this welcoming, open, diverse Britain that we're all just love being part of ourselves.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you for joining us this morning, Tim.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.
And we'll carry on with our chat with Jake Berry very, very shortly.
Are you ready